goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of people who are rocking it on the other side. And that's not all. We have the quarterly Crowbar Awards. 4 opportunities a year to work on a challenging brief and to wow our guest judge. We have gold, silver, and bronze digital crowbars to award. But the first place is an actual Blue Crowbar that we will send to you anywhere in the world to help you actually break into the agency of your dreams. Not that we advise that, although it'd be pretty funny. And you get to come on if you win the Blue Crowbar. You get to come on this show and talk about your creative process and get feedback from the guest judge that quarter. And heck, maybe, just maybe, a job. And on that note, our guest judge for this quarter's Amtrak brief, this was quarter 3, is Eric Kallman. Eric is the co-founder and CCO of Eric and Kallman, an independent agency located in San Francisco. He's been on the show, so go listen. And he's made his mark on the world of advertising with classic campaigns such as the Effie winning all-time Old Spice campaign, The Man Your Man Could Smell Like. He's worked at Chiat+Day, Wyden & Kennedy, Goodby Silverstein and Partners, and was a founding ECD of Barton F. Graff. His 8 yellow pencils and 2 black pencils make him the 3rd most awarded copywriter in D&AD history. And he's here with us today to celebrate our Blue Crowbar winner, Nikhil Rajagopalan. Nikhil is the first ever person to single-handedly win this first place prize. Remember, you can have up to 3 people. He did it alone, and he's up in Toronto, Canada. So that makes him our first ever international Crowbar winner. And you've probably seen him on LinkedIn. He's up there networking with the best and brightest in our industry. In under a year, he's managed to break into creative advertising from a career in the sciences, yes, the sciences, with a unique mix of networking, self-learning, and seemingly never-ending well of hustle. We break down his award-winning campaign and also the importance of implementing the feedback, which Nikhil did with Eric's creative direction right away. I love this about him. We also talk about how it's possible to break into advertising without portfolio school and how working in public can open doors to scholarships and the spotlight. So this is an episode you don't want to miss. And at the end of the show, we'll add links to Nikhil's LinkedIn, his portfolio, and email, so you can check out his work, follow him, or say hello. So, without further ado, let's get into it. This is the Breaking and Entering Blue Quarterly Crowbar episode. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with a very, very special episode. An episode we only do once a quarter. This is the Blue Crowbar recording, the ultimate show for the best in show at our Crowbar Award show here. That we got Nikhil, our first place winner, Nikhil Rajagopalan. Did I say that correctly?
Yep, nailed it.
Perfect. Amazing. And only one person on your end here on the team. You can have up to 3, but only one person. Why is that, Nikhil?
I think it's just easier if I did everything myself.
Eric, do you ever get that? You ever get that in life?
He's gonna be successful, guy. I can already tell.
Yeah,
Dominate. That's the right answer.
I love that. I love that. And Eric Kallman, our guest judge. We get one guest judge a quarter. So who we had, Cooper? Who was our first judge?
Greg Hahn.
Greg Hahn. He's pretty good. Who was our second judge?
Our second judge was
Helen Blount, the ECD at Preacher, another great independent shop. And now we have Eric, founder and CCO at Eric and Kallman, is another independent shop. Is that correct?
We're all a bunch of independent people.
We're
doing it. We're doing all the work ourselves,
just like Nikhil did.
Nikhil.
We got to get like a huge holding company guy next, or woman next, just to balance out all the independence.
The independents are killing it right now, though.
Yes,
A lot
they
of
are.
crazy work, lots of awards.
So we got some great. We had a lot of great submissions this quarter. I was really amped up. Not sure if we did better promotion or maybe it was because you, Eric, you drew in a lot of great people and you're great yourself. So rose to the top by himself. So let's start off with some intros. Nikhil, tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do. You've had a long 9 months. Am I correct on that? And we've been friends since probably the very beginning of your break-in journey.
Oh,
Tell us
yes.
about that transition you made from previous life to where you're at now.
Yeah. So I was a medical writer back in India, and I was one for about 5 years. And then I got my permanent residence to Canada, and I came here in September 2020, smack dab in the middle of the pandemic. No vaccines, really scary times. And that was when the whole world was going all virtual, all online and stuff. And I got work, full-time work as a medical writer immediately. But as time went by, I realized I wasn't really happy doing it. I felt the creative side calling to me. And somewhere in February 2022 was when I realized that I really need to make a move to something that will make me a lot more happier and make me feel more fulfilled. So a friend of mine, he gave me a copy of the copybook, DNAD's copybook, and he gave me a copy of Cameron Day's Chew with Your Mind Open. So it was a combination of those two books that sort of started getting me really interested in advertising. And I had absolutely no idea how to go about it because anybody I asked said, plop down $20,000 US and go to Miami ad school. And then I'm like, then what? What do we do? So there's so many amazing, talented folks out there. And at the end of the day, there is a hidden expectation that paying for portfolio school hooks you up with that network so that you get placed in the agency or agencies of your dreams. And I thought to myself, all these guys are on the internet, they're on LinkedIn, you have email addresses. Why should I spend $20,000 and go further into debt when I can just reach out to them and ask them and just tell them, hey, this is me. This is these are my skills, these are my talents, this is where I want to go. How can you help me? So that's how it started. And how you and I met, Gino, was I didn't know that we had to do like a portfolio. So I just had these really rough ads that I made up in Canva, and I was like just trying to get some help, and it wasn't going in the direction I anticipated. And to be honest, I was a little naive back then, still am, but a little more naive back in the day. I made the mistake of showing some of those really, really early ads to creative directors, and they said they didn't want to break my heart, so they said, "Yeah, kid, you gotta work some more." So I wasn't getting progress. And then I listened to episode 41 of Breaking and Entering. It was with Jack Rogerson, the gentleman from Chicago. So there was this one moment where he said, I was just this close to getting into a job, but the person ahead of me was a graduate from Yale. And they also had a degree in design from OCAD or SCAD. And he said, how the hell do I even compete with that man? Right? How do I even compete? So when he said that, that gave me like real anxiety. And I was thinking, am I even making the right move in going down this path, spending like a year plus to go down this road? And that's when I decided to reach out to you. And, that's how we became friends.
I do remember. Yeah, and we've been close ever since. And yeah, I would love to hear, Eric, your take on this, like networking, the views on portfolio school versus kind of like leveraging yourself, because it is a lot more work when you don't. What's nice about the portfolio school is the structure, and sometimes they teach similar styles and ruin some perspective, I feel like, but I don't know, Eric. What are your thoughts on this? Would you hire somebody that doesn't go to portfolio school? What do they have to show you to really
Yeah,
gather
I
your
mean,
interest?
I applaud Nikhil for what he's doing and what he did. I mean, I went to Miami Head School for I went to college. I studied journalism, and I had a career going in radio. And then all I knew is from all my internships in college was that that's not what I wanted to do for a career. Like Nikhil, I wanted to find something more fulfilling. So I went to Miami Ad School for 1 quarter because that was all the money I had. And back then it was 10 grand and I didn't want to go in debt for more quarters, more than that. And, there's a lot of value if you can afford it. I know in portfolio school, but we would only have like one concepting class a week. And that's kind of really all you do as a creative. So I was like, why can't there be a school with just 3 or 4 concepting classes a week? And that's all you do. So you learn how to think of ads, right? I was lucky that a teacher at Miami Ad School that quarter found out the price and saw the curriculum and was like, you know what, Eric, as a aspiring copywriter, you don't need a typeface 101 class. And so she opened up an ad school at Goodby at night, and I paid $1,000 a quarter. And it's really why I got to have a book and be doing this, because I wouldn't be able to afford it, without it. Sorry for that sidebar, not trying to take away from you, Nikhil, because we should talk all about how awesome you're doing and the awesome idea you thought of the oneness. But I think we're like-minded in that way. It's just, it is a great thing that ad schools exist. And getting in a network that can help you meet the right people or shop your book around is an awesome thing. But you don't need it if you have enough drive, you know. So
Right.
and that's what Nikhil's saying, I think.
And not everybody has that drive. And what we're trying to do with the crowbars is give those concepts, right? 1 a quarter uh, is what our goal is. And that's what we've been doing for the past year. And we believe that the couple months to work on this, 3 months to work on one campaign is a pretty good rate. And if you do a really good job and you get feedback and you apply yourself with a group, then you can bypass a portfolio school potentially. You have 4 good campaigns in a year. Traditionally, what they'll teach you is about 5, 6 campaigns is what's asked for. You're gonna have to do a lot of work though. So Nikhil is a perfect example of that drive and what he did with this year's. So I kind of give the overview of what the Crowbar Awards is. One new creative challenge every quarter. So that's 4 briefs every year. And then we hand it off. Cooper writes the briefs, and he'll talk about the brief this quarter that Nikhil won first place, best in show, Blue Crowbar. But we do that, and then we hand it off to the guest judge, and somebody that's the top of the industry, who Eric, I believe, is one of the best copywriters of all time according to D&D. Um, so he picks out from the short list, and he can look at the non-short list too, what his favorite campaigns are. So Cooper, tell us about the brief that you wrote up. Our chief strategist and co-host of Breaking Honor, and Cooper Colvig, ladies and gentlemen, graduated from Colorado Boulder, who, even though their loss was pretty tough recently to Stanford, I believe.
The future's bright. I'm not worried about Friday night. The future is bright for Colorado and that ad program.
The ad program's looking good.
A lot of awesome people coming out of there. I know one of our winners from the first Crowbar Awards was and is a Boulder guy. But to Amtrak, weird way of coming up with this brand as who we're talking about today. But I was sitting on an Amtrak train, and it was like my second time ever being on one, and I only knew it was a way to get from Chicago to Michigan because my parents brought up the train. And outside of like your daily commuter train, I don't think folks in younger generations think about taking the train all that often. Planes, driving have totally killed that market, which makes Amtrak, one, from my experience, a brand that needs a lot of help. And it's clearly a challenger brand in an industry that's been widely dominated by car and the plane. And I was on the Amtrak, and I was watching 310 to Yuma, great train western, and I thought, why not Amtrak? Why can't we think outside the box here? I feel like a lot of times the brands we get to work on aren't always going to be the most glamorous, and that's where you get to really flex your fundamentals and get down to the basics and learn how to go deep, so that one day when we do reach the point we get to work on sweet, flashy brands like Eric does, we're ready for it. So talking about the old westerns and trains being the way that we got across the country and slowly moved across the U.S. and then north and south and every which way. It's slowly died out from there. So I wanted to find a way with our powers in advertising and marketing for to see what the next generation of marketers and advertisers could come up with to show that travel should just be as much about the journey as it is the destination. You have trains and like Durango to Silverton where people just ride the train for the views, for the adventure, to go to the small western towns. There's another one in Canyon City, but otherwise it's really just thought of as a way to get from point A to point B. And Nikhil has created a really incredible idea for bringing that to life.
Heck yeah, he does. So Nikhil, you got this brief a couple months ago, and I want to know what were your first thoughts about it? W- How did you research and plan for this campaign? I think let's demystify the creative process here. How did you get a first stab at this? Tell us about your thoughts immediately.
Yeah, sure. So the first thing that's very important is I'm from India, and in India, trains are a daily part of life. Maybe suburban trains, intercity trains, interstate trains. You have a train that goes all the way from the tip of the country, that's Kanyakumari, all the way up to the north in Kashmir. It takes like 4 or 5 days, and train trips are also a big part of growing up, right? So we had relatives in faraway towns. So on vacations, we used to actually plan these big trips. I used to be so excited when my grandfather used to come back from the railway station. I mean, remember the no computers, no telebooking of tickets in those days. So you had to go to the railway station and get those tickets printed out on those dot matrix printers. And we used to look excitedly. I used to see my name, Nikhil R, and my age, and the birth number, right? It was a fantastic experience. And so when I saw the Amtrak peep, I thought to myself, hey, this is like a very bizarre situation where there's an Indian guy who's living in Canada trying to tackle an American train problem, right? So I thought, okay, this is freaking brilliant. We got to do this. So how I went about the brief is first and foremost is the insight, right? So the insight is the most important, and you can have facts, but without that really human emotional connect, you can't convince people to do anything. And that's true for Amtrak as it is for any other campaign. So what is the one true thing that you can say about Amtrak that you cannot probably say about any other means of commercial transportation, right? I mean, again, you're not talking about cars, commercial transportation, which is the view. So my idea was, if everyone loves traveling by plane so much, and again, I'm going to talk about a completely different direction that I wanted to go in after I discuss this. If everyone wants to travel by plane, if they look out the window, they can't see anything, right? It's just clouds, just the tops of the forest, just oceans and lakes, right? They can't see the trees, they can't see the nitty-gritty details. So, and there's also that annoying cabin drone buzz, right? So it's not a nice way to travel. And when you think about it, a lot of people just want the plane trip to get over as quickly as possible. With some movies like The Wolf
Baby
and
could
Wall,
be crying. You don't have earbuds or whatever.
yeah. You have like that movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, where people just take drugs and just kind of like zonk out for the entire flight, right? so so I thought to myself, why not capitalize on a train where the window offers you a view to everything? And since Amtrak is pretty much operating in 46 states out of the 48 contiguous states, you get to see every part of America. And so I thought that that's a great campaign slogan line, right? Your window to America. It's very simple, it's straightforward, it's evocative. You can put that on any number of media. So, it's simple.
That's a great copywriter approach, right? I think that's a really good first stab at that. And I think if you can share that your screen for Eric as well and all of us to refresh our minds, you had
Yeah.
a wonderful video that went with it that we will link to the website here. So yeah, if you want to pull that up for us
Yep.
here, and then we can kind of comb through it and then
Yep.
talk through it, your window to America. Great. And then Eric, I want to know your thoughts too. And you looked at a good amount of submissions throughout the process. What stood out about this campaign versus the rest? What made it sync with you?
I'd say Nikhil said it perfectly. It's the last sentence there when said it's simple. Great creative ideas are always simple. And there were some other finalists that were also, some weren't as simple. Others were as simple, but they were also about kind of an aspect of train travel. While I felt like this campaign nailed like head on the emotion and the romance that makes train travel so special, which is what Nikhil, was articulating about with the story with his grandpa. It's it's a fun assignment, right? Because train travel, there's definitely like a feeling that goes along with it, right? And I felt like this was the simplest idea that hit that feeling on the head. Is why it finished tops to me.
What was the soundtrack again, Nikhil?
It was Holiday for States by Alan Sherman.
District of Columbia, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Alabama, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Oklahoma, West Virginia, California, Georgia, Texas, Maine, Mississippi, Washington, South Carolina, Arkansas, North Carolina, Tennessee, Louisiana, Iowa, Nevada, Kansas, Arizona, Colorado, Michigan.
And why'd you pick that?
So originally, the direction that I wanted to go with the campaign was don't travel like a masochist. Because I wanted to like line up all the shots of the frustrating things that you experience on a plane and put it to a very classical opera kind of a song that builds up in tempo and then kind of crashes down at the end. So it leaves the person feeling frustrated and angry, and then Amtrak is presented as the solution. But then when I spoke to a creative director friend of mine in Toronto, props to and shout out to Hemal Danji, who's ACD at Courage Incorporated. They do great work on KFC and Nescafe, by the way. So I reached out to him and I asked him like, "Hey, what do you think of this idea?" And he said, "It's a great idea. Don't get me wrong, but the track doesn't ring true to me. So I want you to think of something that's a little bit more happier, that's a little bit more uh, upbeat, something that is synchronous with train travel." So I thought to myself, this is, Amtrak America, and it's in 46 out of the 48 contiguous states. So why not take this particular track, which sort of sings all the names of the states in the song?
So this is a great point. There were some other entries that showed the negative to sell the positive. Another thing I loved about your entry, Nikhil, is that you were the one that didn't even at the beginning show any of the negative. You just celebrated, the positive and what it is, and are kind of, in a way, respecting the viewer a bit, right? And just kind of, uh, just kind of hope, thinking that people would be able to see this and compare it themselves against other modes of transport, right? So, something that I think is refreshing. I think nowadays in real, when we get into real advertising, a lot of times we have clients that push us, with good intentions to, maybe over explain to the viewer. But I just love how this dove into the happy views of train travel with that positive, traveling music that wants you to hop on there with them.
Nikhil, what was the feedback that Eric gave you? Pretty very quickly. So we don't usually get this opportunity. But Eric moved quick and gave some amazing feedback. I sent that to you right away, and you were able to make some changes. Can you talk about that real quick?
The feedback that Eric gave was I had done a little bit of social ads, like social static ads. So trying to say where in America is this particular scene. So you have like, these Amtrak trains and where in America, and, people are encouraged to say, oh, hey, this is a train in, in Minnesota or whatever. But Eric pointed out that to keep like the campaign theme a little bit more consistent, uh, you just focus and capitalize on the views that you're seeing from outside, from inside the windows to the outside. So I just basically recycled some of the visuals from that video, the still images from that video, and just slapped the campaign strap line at the bottom, and then put Amtrak's logo over there. I mean, I didn't have time to add a CTA call to action over there, but I think the sentiment that's good.
Yeah, and Nikhil, I remember now that social stuff, and I think that that social idea you had, the like, where is this view, is I think that that would work, and that would encourage interaction, which is great, and really strong on social. I just felt like the main idea, like for that to me, felt like a round two idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
something you do after this campaign's already out and established. Because the idea itself, the main spot is so strong. And, again, there's that emotion and romance of train travel that it does such a great job of getting across. I thought it'd be great to just, it works so well in static social, even, or static out of home, get it out in the world first, and then maybe follow up with that social idea, which I still think strong. I just think the video is so strong. Let's launch it first.
yeah.
So if we're ever doing a crowbar round two exercise, you can save that for round two of the campaign.
What's a mini crowbar called again? It's like a cat's claw. I think that's what my dad
Yes.
called it. Those little ones.
I'm
Maybe
not
we'll do it.
handy. I have no insights there.
Nikhil, while you got the PowerPoint up, can we just
Yep.
look at those out of homes, or those
Yeah,
still?
sure. Yeah.
There they are. Maybe we'll post this on YouTube. Why not? How does everybody look? Everybody okay with the way they look?
No,
Come on, Cooper.
but
you
go
always-
ahead. Post on post on YouTube. I'll get it posted. I'll never be okay with my physical appearance.
No, yeah.
But that's a different session. That's a different Zoom.
I got a face for radio and podcasts.
There you go.
That's what my family says. Love it. Great. So I want to give this the last 5 minutes here up to Nikhil. It's not so often you got one of the best creatives of all time right in front of you. So any advice that you want to ask Eric, I'm going to mute my mic. You take the last 5 minutes here. Ask for a job if you'd like. That's what I would do. Whatever you need, the time is yours.
Well, it's not exactly polite manners to ask for a job on the first call, right? So you gotta chat a little bit. You gotta email. You gotta go back and forth, set up a little bit more rapport, and then when he feels confident and I feel confident, then we can talk business. But Eric, it's a absolute pleasure speaking with you. And I have actually, did some work, so I have like half a page of Kallman notes all written down. So I did.
no.
Oh no. No. So
Quiz him.
I'm not gonna ask you anything too specific, but one thing that I really, really enjoyed, and this is a bit of a hot take, I didn't like the Skittles ad that much, right?
Yeah.
I was more of a fan of the Career Builder. The
Yeah.
one where someone punched a koala
Bunch of
bear,
koalas. Sure.
koala bear holding a coffee mug and having a British accent. Oh my, that was brilliant. I mean, it was, and the ragu ad as well as the pizza ad where the guy with the cast
The
flicks
cast
his
little
hand.
seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel those ads are brilliant because they have this eccentric uh, bit of humor that makes it so sticky. And it's also insanely relatable, right? So that's this is not more of a question. That was just more of
Yeah.
some feedback from a guy who doesn't know what he's doing yet in
Oh,
advertising.
come on.
So coming to actual questions is, okay, put yourself in my shoes. So
Mhm.
I'm Eric Kallman, you're Nikhil Rajagopalan. You just won the crowbar, the Blue Crowbar. What's your game plan? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to break into advertising, or how are you going to get that agency job with the crowbar?
Well, first I'm going to try to drink out of it like the Stanley Cup. And I don't know if that's possible. Then I would just continue drinking with or without the trophy itself.
Use it as a shotgun tool.
It's a
But
big
just-
stir.
Stir. Yeah, you can get crazy.
No, but man, hey, Nikhil, I read a little bit in an email from Gino before this chat about your background, and then you got into it a little bit here. And dude, you're an impressive guy to have
Thank you.
to come so far. Yeah, I mean, most people start a career and continue in it, and once they realize it's not going to be fulfilling, they don't even have the guts or the energy or drive to do something about it, and they just keep doing it the rest of. I mean, that's most people I know. So the fact that you not only switched up, careers, you did the harder, smarter thing, which is instead of incurring more debt, you found the way to do it without doing that. But dude, you seem like a driven dude in a wonderful way, who's kind of learning at every turn. And I don't know, I honestly don't know how much advice I could give you. It seems like you don't. Seems like you're more than on the right path, man. So you just got a job in Toronto in as a copywriter?
Yeah, it's a part-time contract at Barrett& Welsh as a junior copywriter.
Awesome, man. And that's
Yeah.
how long ago did that begin?
That's going to go until mid-November.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
one thing I found uh that works that you know as good as me is just being proactive, right? So
Yep.
the more of these assignments you can take on yourself, whether it be award shows like this, or if it's slower at work, maybe you find a CD or someone you like at work to give you a fake assignment. That would be essentially the same as an ad school assignment, right? Um, the more you do of it on your own time, even the better you'll keep getting, and the better your book will keep getting. It's funny. I've noticed something out of ad schools. Ad school's wonderful, and there's a lot of wonderful teachers there. And I go to VCU every other year and talk, and I think it's an awesome place. I did the same at Circus. Is that because it's the same school with the same teachers, and a lot of the same instructors acting as a creative director,
Mhm.
that a lot of the books come out of there feeling similar. Uh, Not that they're bad at all, they're great, but similar, meaning that they've all gone through the same creative directors kind of thing. Um, so that's why please feel free to, I mean, you should go on your own. I guess my point is that a lot of times I'll see books now and, you know, you won't really get a grasp of what they're all about from their book out of school for that reason, or they've had one job for 3 years. And that again is the work coming out of usually one or two creative directors, also on maybe one or two accounts.
Yeah.
So I know that a lot of times younger people feel like I need to get real work in my book and replace all the student work. I would say that's not true. I'd say that the more different and unique work you can get to, the better. And I mean, maybe everyone's not like this, so you could take it with a grain of salt if I'm wrong. But like, I would hire somebody who's 4 years in, who has one or two real pieces in their book and six that they do in class at night. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because especially more recently, it's tougher and tougher to come up to make a great ad these days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so just keep going on your own like you're doing, and again, the more hours you put into it, the better your ads will get. It's just how it works. I feel like the biggest hurdle that you know I know a lot of talented people that work like nuts coming up their first 5 years. And I know a lot of people who are talented and didn't work as hard. And the ones who excel are always the ones who put in the hours. So uh,
I
all
wanted to,
the
I
stuff-
wanted to, I wanted to say something along those lines before we run out of time. You said something about 10,000 hours,
yes,
right?
yes.
So you keep doing something for 10,000 hours. I think you said that about your partner Craig Allen, if I'm not mistaken. So you and Craig did almost 10,000 hours of work at Wyden and Kennedy, Goodsby, Silverstein, etc. So in January, right? I started this whole journey with winning Young Shits.
Okay.
Young Shits, yeah, I won Young Shits in the professional category. Again, just me. I had no idea what a creative director was. I had no idea what a brief was. I managed to put something together in about 2 weeks, and I won. That was the start of the whole thing. Then immediately I followed up with a DNAD New Blood submission. I did one for the Kennedys, which was very well received. Then people started noticing me on LinkedIn, and they said, "Hey man, can you afford Ad House?" I was like, nah, not right now. And they actually came back with a scholarship. I got a 10-week scholarship to Ad House. And then immediately after that, I got a scholarship to Jason Bagley, your friend. Jason Bagley's
Yeah.
the Audacious School of Astonishing Pursuits, ASAP,
Yes.
also on scholarship. And finally, the feather in my cap, so to speak, is the crowbar, the Blue Crowbar, which I put out in 11 days. That's it.
Yeah. No, you're doing great. Good. You're already doing it. We just keep doing what you're doing. All the proactive hard work is exactly what you need to keep doing. Even once you get a job, I think if obviously you got to do your job first. But if you're not the busiest guy ever that day, just push yourself to put in the work, and you'll get out of it what you put into it. And yeah, that 10,000 hour thing. After my first job at Chiat, New York, that Malcolm Gladwell book came out with a whole chapter about it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft, and that was the time that me and my partner Craig spent together in 3 years, kind of working 7 days a week. And when we were flying out to Wyden to start that job, I did the math on the first job. I kind of ballparked it. And my ballpark came out to just over 10,000 hours. I'm like, I knew it. Because there's something to be said to put in the work. But obviously, Nikhil, you're doing all the right stuff and looking for the guidance as well. So, dude, keep doing what you're doing. You're already crushing it, man.
Thanks.
Wonderful. That's all the time we got. And I'm sure you guys can connect as well offline because you know each other now. And that's how this thing works. We want to connect people. We want to give them those shots on goals outside of those portfolio schools that you can work on. And I want to thank you, Nikhil, for submitting. And this is not your first submission, right? You did another quarter before.
Yeah.
And you kept up with
Progress.
it. Yep. And I really appreciate you coming back. And now you just won it all. So congrats to you, Eric. Thank you for being our guest judge. I know
thanks
it
for
takes
having me,
a lot
guys.
of time. So I appreciate you, Cooper. Thank you for writing the brief. And thank you all for listening. Q4 is live now. We're going to keep these things running. They're ongoing. No excuse not to submit. And you could potentially meet one of your creative idols like Eric here for us. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.